2024 meeting of the Sandusky City Commission will have an invocation offered by Commissioner Coates, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we come to you humbly today, giving you thanks for all that you do in our lives and all that you continue to do. We pray that you give us the strength to guide us, to make decisions, the decisions that are best for this community, and to always work together to achieve that. We're thankful to be in the land of the living, thankful to be on this side of the ground. Thankful for just being alive and being able to wake up and see sunshine, see birds. We want to pray that you continue to strengthen us, continue to allow us to do your will. In your name we pray all of these things. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Myers, you call the roll.
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Vargo? Here. Mr. Waddington? Here. Mr. Brady?
Here.
Mr. Murray?
Here.
Mr. Bajali?
Here.
Mr. Coons?
Here.
Mr. Crable?
Here.
Commissioners, you have before you the minutes of our meeting of October the 14th, 2024. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
I
Waddington.
move that we accept the minutes of the October 14th meeting as presented.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, the motion be approved, and hearing no objection, that motion is approved. Tonight we have a presentation regarding our strategic plan that will be delivered by our city manager, Mr. John Orzak.
Thank you, commissioners and audience and those at home. I wanted to have a recap of the bicentennial vision plan as we end this portion of the plan and then start our new vision plan for the next 5 years. We wanted to kind of recap the investments that the commission and the community has made in our neighborhoods. So I wanted to start out with that tonight. As everyone knows, we had the issue 8, which was a 0.25% income tax that the voters passed back in 2015, and then Cedar Point agreed to have their admissions tax raised back then from 2% to 4%. And that kind of springboarded investment back into the community that we were looking, that the community really needed back then. We focused back then on housing, streets, economic development, parks, trees, and there was other varieties, but I'm going to capture those investments tonight so that you kind of see where those investments were made throughout the community. For the housing, there's different programs that we had invested in over the last 8 years: substantial redevelopment, exterior repairs, and home purchase assistance. Also, with code enforcement, we started the rental registration program, which had us inspecting rental properties on a triennial basis. And then we had different enforcement mechanisms that to start stabilizing the community. Also, we had demolitions that took some of the worst and most blighted houses down that we had in our community. We did, since 2016, over 130 demolitions of houses, and now that sets us up to start invigorating those neighborhoods, and with the Welcome Home Ohio program and the land bank properties and that, start reinvesting and start getting homes back in those neighborhoods. So for the substantial redevelopment, there are projects that are $20,000 or more, and the projects include new infill housing, construction, redevelopment of vacant homes, and major renovations to existing units. And this map shows over the course of the 8 years all of the projects. There was 125 projects, over $900,000 in investment in the community through this program. The exterior repairs program, it was an outstanding program that has been utilized. It help the people repair their homes, make improvements that could be seen from the streets, whether it's painting their houses, doing the siding, porch repair, roof repair, all of those type of things that you can see from the street that enhance their homes. And the exterior repairs, as you can see on the screen here, are scattered throughout our community. There are 726 projects with over $1.5 million invested in those repairs. And then the Home Purchase Assistance Program has been very successful, and it's allowed us to leverage people coming back and buying homes in our community. You can see through this that we have helped homeowners with assistance throughout the entire community. I think it's a telling sign there. Out of the Home Purchase Assistance Program, there was 293 grants for over $1 million invested. Then the street resurfacing, we had 588 segments of street, which totaled 54 miles of street that were resurfaced. I'll go on to this next slide. These are some of the great projects that have happened over the last 8 years. Perkins Ave, Warren Street, our local resurfacing, Butler Street, Perkins Ave, and Monroe Street. And the next map, I think, is telling, out of all of them, of all of these streets that we have invested in our community over the last 8 years. For context, the 16 years before that, from 1999 to 2015, we only did 152 segments of street in those 16 years. So the commission and administration have really ramped up the street resurfacing and streets in our community. And this map shows you just where all those dollars went. For economic development, it's supported the creation and expansion of small businesses in the city. And also supported redevelopment of vacant or underutilized buildings. These are some of the projects throughout the community that have been invested in. And here's the map with 80 projects with over $2 million invested in those projects. Our parks were another area that we're significantly under invested in prior to these last 8 years. There's been significant investment in the renovation or creation of 16 parks, and they support parks as neighborhood anchors. And this picture shows some of those amazing parks and improvements that have been made. Amvets Park, J.C. Park, Heron Park, Talon Floor Park, and also Lions Park. And then the pins on the map show all the park improvements that have been made throughout the last 8 years. Going on to our urban tree canopy and the investment in trees, we took down trees, and then we started refilling our stock. And this shows you the trees that have been replanted. There's almost 1,193, almost 1,200 trees that have been planted in the boulevards or the right-of-way and the parks in our city. And all of these, all this information has been categorized in our annual reports since 2016. So if anybody wants to find those, you can take a deeper dive into those and get more information. But as the sun rises over our city, the new strategic plan that is being guided by this commission and the community and stakeholders, we are looking forward to making more investments and reporting out to the commission over the next 5 years in our annual reports and at commission of what we're going to be spending those dollars and making those investments in. The commission has guided us thus far in our draft plan to invest in our neighborhoods, our housing stock, the waterfront, economic development, municipal services, and arts and culture. And we look forward to that plan getting wrapped up here in the next month or two, and then start making those strategic decisions like we've done over the last 8 years, and making Sandusky continue to progress and grow. So that I conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Orszag. Questions or comments for the city manager? Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Murray.
Mr. Murray. Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
Mr. Majali. Mr. Murray.
I'll just say, having been here when the strategic plan was adopted, the bicentennial plan was adopted, at the time, the commission and the staff all kind of gulped and said, how are we going to do all this? It was really something, and it was a moment in time when it was presented. I recall being at the State Theater when it was rolled out, and there were a lot of folks there who were interested to see what it was going to be. And we more or less collectively said, no, you don't have to pinch yourselves anymore. This is real. The city is poised for very important comeback, and this is going to happen. And it was because of just hundreds, really thousands of people, homeowners, business owners, that made all these investments over the last 10 years, essentially, that we are where we are today. But I'm looking forward to the next 5 years and finalizing this plan. You're not going to get anything done of this scale, this magnitude, without a plan. And I can't think of much on that bicentennial plan we didn't complete because we had a plan. And I'm just grateful that we're finishing that one and turning to a new one. And I just can't imagine where the city's going to be 5 years from now. So thank you.
Mr. Majali.
Mr. Chairman, that was a lot of good information, Mr. Orszag. I just wondered, and maybe I'm not aware of it, do we identify these projects like with a sign or anything? Another exterior rehab program brought to you by the city of Sandusky, exterior rehab, making Sandusky neighborhoods a better place to live or anything like that, so people that are driving around can see all this?
I'll have to check with the exterior. I know we were doing that with all the economic development projects. There was acknowledgement that the city had invested in there.
That might be something to consider in the future because the citizens will pick up on what's being done and who's doing it.
Additional comments, Commissioners? Mr. Orszag, something that strikes me as significant. All the things that you mentioned here obviously are significant, but what strikes me as significant is I can recall a decade ago making the comment that spending $1 million in repaving hardly gets noticed in a city of Sandusky. But if you do it for a decade, it really gets noticed. Well, here we are a decade later, and you really notice it now. And yet, we claim to have done these certain 585 segments of roads, 54 miles. We're still only halfway there. We have about 103 miles of roads in the city. So there's still more work to do. But what we've done, I think, is really dramatic, not just in the roads, but in so many of the things that you've done, the people that we've helped with housing assistance, with being able to purchase homes, the things we've been able to do with help sprucing up homes. Those are the catalysts that ignite an entire neighborhood. Those are the catalysts that then lift and ignite a whole city. So I agree with Mr. Murray's comment that you don't get anywhere without a plan. This is the value of having a strategic plan. And we're going to have another one here in another couple months. Look forward to that. Thank you. Any residents with comments regarding tonight's agenda, please step to the podium and share with us your name and address and tell us your thoughts on agenda items.
Well done.
Good evening. Sue Doherty, representing Serving Our Seniors as the director and also as a resident of the city of Sandusky at 1016 3rd Street. On the item 6 for the Welcome Home Sandusky project, I just want to again extend my appreciation to the community director, Colleen Nicholson and the commission for recognizing the importance of this, and I so appreciate the work being done by the city to help create affordable housing. On item number 7, would you be able to tell us what address or street address those parcels are? I'm curious to know if that's the Warren Street development or is that something totally different? And finally, I also would like to applaud the city for renewing the extension on the moratorium for transient housing. So thank you for your work on those issues.
Thank you, Ms. Doherty. And we'll get you an answer on item 7 when we get to that.
Thank you, President Brady. Tim Schwanger, 362 Sheffield Way. I have a couple of consent item questions. First one is item E, which is the easement for 117 East Washington Street. The supporting documents indicate they want to use portion of our sidewalk, make sure that we are within ADA compliance. There's been a couple of issues in downtown Sandusky where the sidewalk and the easements weren't followed as far as our code of, I believe it's 5 feet. Consent items H, I, J, and K, I'd like to know from the Planning Department, Development Department, if all those numbers are the same as last year. Has there been an increase in each one or each one? Consent item L, which is the $111,000 for the Erie County Health Department for home lead abatement. That seems to be an increase of $14,000 over last year. I'd like to know if there's a guarantee that $111,000 goes specifically to houses just within the city of Sandusky. Since this is a county program, I want to make sure that our dollars aren't being spent outside of the city of Sandusky. Item number 2 is the Sandusky Bay Pathway from Sports Force to Cedar Point Drive. I'd like to know what we're getting for our $5.5 million. Is that just construction or does that include other items? And also I'd like to know what the linear footage is of that project from Sports Force to Cedar Point Drive. Number 6 is the affordable housing development. This is going to increase the amount of homes that we are going to be building. The question would be is what is the minimum income of anybody who would qualify for those new houses, and whether or not Sandusky's actually going to own the homes when we're done and we're going to resell them, or is that something that the developer will resell? And finally, number 8 is the extension of the transient rental overlay expansion. I didn't see in the supporting documents how far out we're going to extend that. Is it going to be another 18 months? Is it going to be another month? I didn't see any figures for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwanger. Additional comments on agenda items? Commissioners, you have before you several communications from staff recommending various pieces of legislation. Can I have a motion to accept those communications?
So moved. Second.
Been a motion and a second. Discussion. Without objection, the motion will be approved. And hearing no objection, that motion is approved. Commissioners, we have 12 items on the consent agenda this evening. Do any of you wish to move any of these items to the regular agenda? Ms. Myers, will you present the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. President. Item A, approval of budget appropriation amendment number 4. Item B, approval of agreement with Ray and Associates for financial statements. Item C, approval of agreement for consulting and brokerage services with Digital Insurance. Item D, approval of 2024 sidewalk repair contract A, first and final, change order with premise. Item E, approval of encroachment license agreement for 117 East Washington Row. Item F, approval to dispose of 2 obsolete vehicles. Item G, approval of purchase and sale agreement of land bank parcel at 205 Henry Street. Item H, approval of agreement with Erie County Senior Center Meals on Wheels program. Item I, approval of agreement with Father's Heart Family Church Senior Essentials Assistant Program. Item J, approval of agreement with OGO Food Pantry Program. Item K, approval of agreement with Erie County Health Department Healthy Homes. Item L, approval of agreement with Erie County Health Department Lead Paint Removal Program.
Commissioners, having heard these ordinances, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Murray.
move for the adoption of ordinances indicated as in the communications A through L pursuant to Section 14 of the city's charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Murray.
briefly to answer a couple of one question, the communication to the commission indicates that it does indeed maintain a 5-foot, a minimum of 5 feet of sidewalk to maintain ADA compliance. And I would share just generally in the observation that it would be helpful to the commission and the public where we have annual items if we indicate what the funding was in the prior year. Thank you.
And that answer was reflected in item E, this question, the question we had in item E. I believe there's additional questions on agenda items. My notes, hard to read, only a few minutes old, still hard to read. The question regarding whether the dollars stay in the city or are spread around the county. Ms. Groy, would that be in your wheelhouse?
Yes.
That's where you go to jail.
Through the commission president, yes, every project we do has to be in the city and it has to be CDBG eligible resident. And as far as the other numbers, I can look at those. I don't have them on hand.
So if we spent them outside the city, Mr. Murray would be right, we would go to jail if we spent them outside the city.
Did not. He is good.
He speaks like a lawyer, I can tell you that. I believe there was a question. Do you have any other questions on the consent agenda items, or did that cover it? Anybody else take notes besides me on the?
I think that was it, yeah.
I think that's it.
Mr. Chairman, I think
Joe.
the question was the transient housing, how long would that moratorium extension go?
Oh.
And I believe it's 18 months. Correct. That's what we set up. We've met on numerous occasions, and I think we're close.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll get it back to this commission for consideration before that time period.
So you're going to do it in my political lifetime.
That's the goal.
That would be 12 months.
That assumes your political lifetime extends out to 15 months.
That's correct, yes. Hopefully. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on the motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinances.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Those ordinances are approved. Ms. Myers, you present item number 1 on the regular agenda.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with Spear Brothers Incorporated of Sandusky, Ohio for the Camp Street and West Forest Drive Utility Relocation Program and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Waddington.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Discussion. Mr. Klein, I noticed there were 5 different alternates in that bid, and I was a little unclear as to whether those, whether the 5th item was a $100,000 contingency item, I believe. Are we not accepting the other 4 alternates?
The recommendation is not to accept the first 4, but to accept that 5th alternate.
Just have the alternate. So it's the base bid plus $100,000 is how you got to the 2.4 million.
Yes, and as a little bit of an explanation is that those 4 alternates were added to the project in case bids came in extremely high. So we were going to minimize pavement repairs, we were going to reduce the quality of the water line, those types of things. And we felt with the bids coming in a couple $100,000 under, actually $300,000 under the estimate, we felt it was good to do the road repairs that those roads need.
Not necessary, though.
Right.
Great, thank you. Additional comments or questions, Commissioners? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on the motion?
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 2.
It is requested a resolution be passed declaring the necessity for the city to proceed with the proposed Sandusky Bay Pathway Project, Heminger Ditch to Cedar Point Drive, approving the specifications and engineer's estimate of cost thereof, and directing the city manager to advertise for and receive bids in relation thereto, and declaring that this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this resolution, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pajali.
I would move to adopt this resolution in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Mr. Klein, I don't want you to get too deep into the weeds here, not necessarily for myself, but perhaps you could give us somewhat of an overview of exactly what we're accomplishing there. And I don't expect you to know the footage of this, but I know it's from Heminger Ditch to Cedar Point Causeway, so I'm going to say quarter of a mile.
Yes, those are the exact limits of the project. It's permission to bid the project, so to answer the question that came up earlier, it is for construction. The next item on the agenda is for construction inspection. So this will get us the next segment of the pathway that actually goes from Cedar Point Drive over Pipe Creek, behind Castaway Bay, down the old pier track, over to East Shoreway Drive, back down to Cleveland Road, and then over to Heminger Ditch. And then on the future project for the landing, that's when we're going to cross Heminger Ditch and get it back to where it's going to connect to the trail that eventually leads to Huron.
Sure. I understand that item 2 and item 3 are intricately tied together.
Yes.
Additional comments or questions, Commissioners?
Mr. Commissioner, Chairman,
Commissioner Crable.
I just want to point out, it's my understanding there's no budget impact from either of these because we're doing all of this work with grant funding. So just wanting to clarify that.
Ms. Frieder, you would be the one to probably clarify that, but I believe that is okay.
That is correct.
Additional comments? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion, please.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the resolution.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That resolution is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 3, and we'll take it one ordinance at a time. There are 3 ordinances in there. We'll do ordinance number 1, item number 3.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into an agreement for professional services with Manikin Smith Group Incorporated of Maumee, Ohio, for the Sandusky Bay Pathway Project, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Waddington.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance, 1, under suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second?
Been a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion, please.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present ordinance number 2 of item number 3.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into an agreement for professional services with Osborne Engineering of Cleveland, Ohio, for the Sandusky Bay Pathway Project, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Fargo.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance number 2 under full suspension of the rules in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion, please.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present ordinance number 3 of item number 3.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into an agreement for professional services with Environmental Design Group LLC of Akron, Ohio for the Sandusky Bay Pathway Project and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Coons?
move for approval of this ordinance under item 3, under suspension of the rules and in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Save this comment to last, but it certainly applies to all three of these ordinances. I can see that we are fortunate to be engaging companies that we are used to doing business with and are very high-quality people in each of their lines. And we're Mannigan Smith, Osborne Engineering. We have a history with both of those, and certainly with environmental design. So I'm completely confident that these three companies working on this project are going to give us a great project. So I'm pleased that it worked out that way. Additional comments? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that ordinance, please.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 4.
It is requested an ordinance be passed ratifying the emergency purchase and installation of a HVAC rooftop unit for the laboratories at Big Island Waterworks Plant, authorizing and directing the city manager and/or the finance director to expend funds to Heartland and Wilkin Custom Heating and Cooling of Milan, Ohio, in the amount of $12,200, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Pajali?
I would move for adoption of this ordinance in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. This, again, speaking to the contractor that we're engaging here, this is a little guy, and it's nice to see a little guy get a project out of this city. I would like to remind you also that in our audience last week sat the great-granddaughter of the founder of part of this company, of the Wilkin. That young lady's last name was Wilkin. Her great-grandfather founded this company, so here we are now doing business with that company. Good thing to see. I know it's a very small contract, but I think we send the message that we're open for business and that people can bid and actually get awarded jobs out of this city. That's a good thing. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on the motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 5, please.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with Great Lakes Demolition Company, LLC of Clyde, Ohio, for the Churchwell Park Phase 1 Improvements Project, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Murray.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance pursuant to Section 14 of the city's charter.
Second.
Been a motion and there's been a second discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Murray.
when we did the bicentennial plan, to return to that subject a little bit, one of the most important priorities that we identified was rehabilitating the South Side neighborhood and providing them with the investment that was long overdue. Many people will know, but some people may not know, that the South Side project was basically a World War II temporary project for temporary federal workers, most of whom were working in the NASA area at that point in time in the munitions construction. That sat there too long, and we underinvested in that community for far too long. And it took a long time to get to this point that we're able to let this contract out, and the one earlier tonight, because of all of the groundwork that needed to be done. But Mr. Klein and his team fortunately did not rush into this. It took a long time to do all of the foundational work that was necessary to make this happen, but I'm very appreciative that we're finally making this happen. These residents deserve this.
Additional comments, Commissioner? On that same line of thinking, we had an opportunity at 1 o'clock today, our city manager, myself, and some staff, to actually publicly thank Congresswoman Kaptur for the $972,000 that she provided through the federal government for the South Side. And that, combined with a couple million more dollars in grants, will really breathe life back into that neighborhood. It seems like a concept right now, but I think it's incumbent on us, and I think this commission places a very high priority on seeing that through. It's going to take years to get that done, but this is maybe the first step in a very long journey, but a very worthwhile journey. Additional comments or questions? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on the motion, please.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 6, please.
It is requested an ordinance be passed approving an amendment to the program agreement with Welcome Home Great Lakes and Firelands Habitat for Humanity for the development of housing through the Welcome Home Ohio program, in declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. President,
Mr. Coons.
move for adoption of this ordinance under Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Got a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Gilson, I believe there's a question regarding the ability for a homeowner to resell that property, and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you tell us what it is.
Sure. I think the question actually was, will we own the homes and then sell them? What happens to this program is the homes are developed by a developer. We purchase the finished project from the developer and then in turn sell to a qualifying homeowner. There was also a question about the price points at which a person has to be at. We are selling these homes and by the grant agreement to folks or families at 80% of median income or lower. And in Erie County, 80% of median income for a family of 4 is $72,900. So you cannot make more than that to purchase one of these homes. For a family of 3, it's $65,650. For a family of 2, $58,350. And for a family of 1, for a single person, $51,050.
And am I correct in saying that if the homeowner at some point in time, if he chooses to sell the property, it has to be sold to someone that qualifies exactly as that person did? So we're not setting something up for flippers here.
You are correct. There is a deed restriction that when if the home is resold, it has to be sold to someone at that price point. It does not preclude a family from making more money once they are in that home, but if they resell, it has to be at that price point.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Gilson. Additional comments or questions, Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Murray.
I didn't understand, and I would appreciate clarification about the change. Are we accelerating the construction of these, or are we just rearranging the order?
We're rearranging the order based on due diligence. When we went out and looked at many of the sites that we selected when we first began this agreement, those darn utility wires were in the way. So we had to select some other lots. These are prefab modular homes that are set with a very large crane that have to go over wires or street signs or trees, and we are trying not to tear down trees or cut down trees. In this agreement, we are adding additional lots. We have selected a total of 26 to be built through this program, and frankly, we are only on the hook to the state of Ohio to build 14.
Oh, by the way, Mr. Chairman, if I may
Yes, Mr. Murray.
there was a question about where these properties are located, I believe, and it's in the communication. They're scattered about town. So.
They are, and I will share that with Sue at the end of the meeting. And I do want to point out about a third of them are on the south side as well. So we are making specific intentional investment in the south side neighborhood with this program.
Excellent. Thank you. Additional comments or questions, Commissioners? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Ms. Crable?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present the next item on the agenda.
It is requested an ordinance be passed declaring that 15 parcels of land owned by the city as part of the land reutilization program identified as parcels number 56-01099, 57-05114, 57-02396, 58-00382, 58-60221, 59-01215, 58-02074, 58-01212, 57-01061, 57-63714, 58-01953, 58-01781, 58-02280, 58-00398, and 58-00942 are no longer needed for any municipal purpose and authorizing the execution of purchase and sale agreements with respect to the real property and declaring this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Ms. Myers, I missed one of those parcels. I wonder if you mind repeating.
Read that over.
Just kidding. Commissioners, having heard that ordinance, how would you like to proceed?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner
I
Barton.
move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of the rules in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, will you poll the commission on the motion, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Wantington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Wantington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 8, please.
It is requested a resolution be passed extending a temporary moratorium on the creation, establishment, or expansion of transient occupancy overlay districts, amendments to the zoning code for a change in use, and use variance related to transient occupancy within the city of Sandusky, Ohio, and declaring this resolution shall take effect under suspension of the rules as contained in and in accordance with Section 13 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this resolution, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Waddington.
I move for this resolution under suspension of the rules in full accordance of Section 13 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. I think that Mr. Pajali probably gave us the only item that's in question. That was the timing, so we know we've got 18 more months, and you've assured me that we'll make that time frame.
That's our goal.
Additional comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Murray.
I just want to put this in context a little bit. This makes a difference in terms of the available amount of housing. There are a lot of different things, and I think that we are coming to know as a community and certainly as a country that there's no silver bullet for dealing with the housing shortage that we've had. We've got a lot of different things that contribute. The existing block of homes at very low interest rates refinanced during the pandemic or before the pandemic are a big, big part of the problem. But we've underinvested in the area. We have a lot of balkanized building codes and housing codes that are a big part of the problem, and they're discouraging investment, and they're decreasing opportunities for construction. So I know that Ms. Gilson and her team have been working on a number of different things that we've talked about generally here at the table, and I'm looking forward to seeing those as we look at implementing the new strategic plan, have some legislation that we can consider that will make a concrete difference. There will be some things in that plan that will be controversial, to be certain, but we're not going to make a change in this, the availability of housing unless we change some things and we rock a few boats and we move some cheese. And if we do that, we can make a difference, but we're going to have to proceed. And I know this commission, from the conversations that we've had in connection with the thinking about the new comprehensive plan, or the new strategic plan, I should say, is committed to doing that. So I'm looking forward to that discussion. So thank you.
Additional comments or questions, Commissioners? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Wantington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the resolution?
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Ms. Crable?
Yes.
That resolution is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 9, please.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Sandusky Education Foundation to establish a resource development policy for the Sandusky Outdoor Tennis Center to be constructed at the proposed Sandusky Recreation Center, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Kelly.
I would move to adopt this ordinance under Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
A motion and a second discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
I'm
Cribb.
going to need to abstain from this because the MOU is with Family Foundation, so.
So noted. Additional comments or questions?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Coons?
I'm not sure, but maybe Mr. Hastings can let me know, but I was thinking that I probably need to abstain as well as an employee of the Sandusky City Schools.
I didn't understand the question.
I was saying that I was thinking I needed to abstain as well from.
Oh,
this.
because you're with the schools. Got it. Yep.
Certainly your prerogative. Additional comments or questions? Ms. Myers, poll the commission on that motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Abstain.
Mr. Crable?
Abstain.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Abstain.
Mr. Crable?
Abstain.
That motion, that ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 10, please.
It is requested an ordinance be passed declaring a 2000 Chevrolet G20 cargo van is unnecessary and unfit for city use pursuant to Section 25 of the city charter, authorizing and directing the city manager to purchase a 2024 Ford Transit van from Matthews Ford of Sandusky, Ohio, through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program as authorized by the ORC Section 125.04C for the Division of Parks and Recreation, and declaring this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Coons?
move for adoption of this ordinance under item 10, under suspension of the rules and in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
A motion and a second discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Waddington?
this is something that's absolutely needed. I believe some of the commissioners that's been around a while rode in the old van that we went to Columbus with. Mr. Pooh's out in the audience. You remember that? We had no lights. We're driving down Route 4 to Columbus, and no lights. Looked like two candles. I said, pull this thing over. You know, I got good vision. And it get out, it looked like two candles, Christmas candles for the lights. You recall that, Mr. Mayor?
I do. I think that was on our trip to Bridges Out of Poverty. I was concerned about going over any bridge at all in that car.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good thing. Do I recall correctly that we're buying this from Matthews Ford, but it's through the state program? Is that unusual, Mr. Klein? Are you, or Chief, is that unusual? Because I don't recall being able to buy locally
Yeah,
from an auto
so
dealer.
with this one, Mr. President, Matthews Ford actually beat the state pricing. So we're
Okay, so
able
it's
to buy.
better than the state pricing.
Yeah, buy a
Okay.
few $1,000s. So we're able to buy local and can do
Oh,
it through
terrific.
Sourcewell.
Great.
Yeah,
Great news.
it's very kind of them.
Perfect. Additional comments or questions? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion, please.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. That concludes our regular agenda. We'll turn to our city manager for his comments.
Thanks, Commissioner. I have several donations here. On September 11th, 2 members of the Sandusky Fire Department participated in Family Health Services' second annual Golf Classic. Proceeds from this fundraiser are being used to help fund their mission to provide quality health care to those in need. A significant portion of the proceeds raised has also been donated to area first responders. Sandusky Fire Department was awarded a donation of $1,500. Thank you to Family Health Services for their support. If I get a motion to accept that donation.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, motion will be approved. Hearing no objection, that motion is approved. Our thanks to Family Health Center.
The next 3 are from Sandusky Park and Rec. I'd like to thank Sandusky Witches Walk for their donation of $3,200 towards internet services at Sandusky Rec and Mills. Get a motion to accept that donation.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, that motion be approved. Hearing no objection, that motion is approved. Our thanks to the Witches Walk, and what a phenomenal success that was in this city. I was out of town during that, but I had several people text me regarding the enormous amount of traffic that brought to our city, and what a good event it was. So thanks to them, and thanks for their donation.
And First Congregational United Church of Christ donated $124.15 towards the out-of-school program at Mills. Get a motion to accept that donation.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, the motion be approved. And hearing no objection, that motion is approved with our thanks for the $124.15.
And lastly, Miracle Sweets Hair Beauty Spa and Lounge donated a flat screen TV. The TV will be used in the chill spot at the out-of-school program at Sandusky Rec at Mills. Get a motion to accept that donation.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, that motion be approved. Hearing no objection, that motion is approved with our thanks.
The recycling center located at the City Service Complex will be closed to the public from Tuesday, October 29th until Friday, November 1st for parking lot resurfacing. Streets and Traffic will begin citywide leaf collection on November 12th. There is also a drop-off area for bag leaves near the Marquette Drive entrance to the City Service Center until January 24th. The full schedule for leaf collection and map of zones can be found at www.cityofsandusky.com/leaf collection. For questions about the city's leaf collection program, call 419-627-5829. And last, Sandusky Transit will hold public hearings October 29th at 11 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. at Sandusky City Hall. The purpose of the hearings is to inform attendees of transit service changes to the Yellow Line fixed route fare increases and modification of transit system hours of operation effective January 1st, 2025. More information on the proposed changes is available by contacting Transit Administrator James Stacy, 419-627-5715, or jstacey@cityofsandusky.com. Take any questions that you might have tonight.
Questions or comments for the city manager? Let them off the hook easy. Move to items of old business. Any items of old business, Commissioner? Items of new business. I have a couple of housekeeping items here. I've obviously made a mistake in counting my days and setting a public hearing, so I'm going to ask for a motion to amend the public hearing for zone map amendment at 518 Jackson Street for November the 12th, moving it to November the 25th to comply with the proper amount of days necessary.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Discussion. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion, please.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That motion is passed, and I need a similar motion to amend the public hearing for a zone map amendment for a portion of parcel 60.00261 at Ferndale Drive east of Cold Creek Boulevard, moving it from November the 12th to November the 25th.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion.
Would you like me to loan you a calculator for the future use?
Ms. Myers, will you poll the commission on that motion?
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Wantington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That motion is passed. Additional items of new business, commissioners? Any items of new business? We'll move to the public comment on any item that pertains to city business. Please step to the podium and share with us your name and address, and I'd ask you to keep your comments to 5 minutes so I can get to dinner tonight.
It's also what our rules say.
West Pool, 1939 East Oakgate. Just follow up about the housing grant. I think it was 6 and 7. Item 7 is the lots that are being tied. That's fine. Just a question. You could either end up with an overabundance of applications for people who want these 26 or 14, whatever it is, homes, or a shortage, one way or another. So how do you decide who gets this? Is this going to be a lottery if it's too many, or just that along that lines? And then follow along with me. Is the developer we're going to pre-sell the houses? Somebody's going to come and say, I'd like a house put on this lot, and then you figure out who gets to do that, if there's multiple people that want the lot, was my question. And then the last thing is, what happens if somebody defaults on the loan? Just what the process is. It sounds like the deed covers it, but at the same time, in between, just as long as you covered those things. And whether you tell me about it later or not doesn't matter, but those were my thoughts of things I needed to know about.
Ms. Gilson, I don't want to put you on the spot answering those questions. You certainly can respond to Mr. Poole privately, or if you want to respond now, you may do that, but if it takes some research, that's fine.
I'll
too.
take the last question is probably the easiest.
Sure.
If you default on any mortgage, there is a process that the bank goes through. They are deed restricted, however, so that, again, they are protected if they are then resold. They have to be sold to someone at 80% of median income. And as far as the sale process, it is not a lottery. It's folks that are either now pre-qualified or have, the ability to borrow and to obtain a mortgage. So we are still working through the process and the timeline, the Gantt chart. We do hope that our first units are under construction by the end of the year.
Thank you. And it's my understanding that the pre-qualification is being done by a bank.
They are.
And
It is.
so they are vetting the people and then giving us a list of people that.
Absolutely, and the program does require participants to go through a year's worth of financial training and coaching. We don't like to say literacy anymore, but coaching, so that they are prepared in terms of savings, but also prepared towards home repair and how to maintain a home.
Sure. Mr. Poole?
Just one more thing. Does everybody know about, they have to already have gone to the bank and put this together? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Do you already have these buyers for these homes?
We do not.
Okay, so you have a process that sounds like the bank, people go to this bank. Does everybody know that? They have to go to a bank first? And is that
Well, to get a
published?
mortgage, you have to go to a bank, yes.
Well, I realize that. Is it published that that's how we're doing? This is $100,000 per house of public money that anyone in the public has access to have done. What is the process we're doing to make sure folks know what the program is? I think that's.
Thank you for the question.
That's what I.
Thank you for the question. We will be releasing a marketing campaign as to how to access these homes. When we first brought this to this commission to actually apply, we did go through the process of how people will be able to access these homes. But I will get together with Mr. Poole afterwards.
And thank you. And I didn't mean to turn this into a question and answer session. We try to keep, but we do want to be responsive. And it's not a complex program, but there are some nuances that Mr. Poole and maybe a lot of other people will know. And I know the marketing campaign will certainly cover every one of those also. Thank you.
Good evening. I would Kuntz to thank Mr. Brady and to thank Mr. Pajali for attending our forum that we held on affordable housing August 15th. I really am grateful for the leadership in having you listen to the stories that were shared and the questions that were asked, and I'm also grateful for the panelists who participated. The feedback I received, Colleen, was exceptional, and the information that you provided along with the other panel. I'm talking to every city, village, and council and telling them the outcome from the forum. And I am here this evening. I know most of you heard the information, but I want to reiterate that the recommendations, if communities are going to find a way to be a place where affordable housing can be created, what needs to happen is we need a community development corporation. We need to create a culture where our residents don't say, "Not in my backyard." We need to create an atmosphere where if we've never done it before, it doesn't mean that we stop thinking about it. And I know that my argument was small homes, because the cost of materials and labor is so expensive. One way to make homes more affordable is to make them smaller, although they still are not necessarily easy to afford. But serving our seniors cannot do this without people like you. If you don't believe in that advice and the suggestions that were made, I know serving our seniors certainly can't make it happen. And it makes a much greater difference when you hear the information with your own ears than if I'm passing it on to you secondhand. So please know that I don't take lightly that you made the time and the effort to be there. There was one recommendation that came out that unfortunately at this time is not going to work. If you recall, our health commissioner said that he would like to see a sin tax fund affordable housing. And unfortunately, due to the Ohio Revised Code, that is not possible. But that doesn't mean that we need to put that idea aside and accept that that's not a possibility. And so I don't know what steps we can take to possibly resurrect that as a temporary funding source for affordable housing, but I just wanted to leave that with you. You travel in circles that I do not travel in, and you may know of influential people that should be having a conversation with, and maybe that could be a possible solution. I also would like to end with this, another concern about affordable housing, especially for retired people who are not working, is the fear of being taxed out of their home. And you've probably heard about the increase in valuations, and therefore, for some, it means an increase in the amount of real estate tax that they will have to pay. And so if you have the time and the interest, we were fortunate to receive the support of Ohio Representative DJ Swearingen, Ohio Senator Teresa Gavarone, candidate for Ohio Representative if elected, Alicia Rashong will also be on that panel, and also Erie County Auditor will be on the panel, and we'll be discussing what we ought to know to create a fix for real estate taxes that are not affordable for retired older adults who are not working. And that will be held again at the UAW Hall, November 22nd at 11 a.m. until 12:30. So if any of you would have the time or the interest, I would be very grateful to have your leadership at that forum as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doherty. In politics, local, state, or federal, it seems there's so few things that governments can agree on, but I believe this commission, 7 members of this commission all agree on one thing, and that is that affordable housing is a top priority for all of us, not just a few of us. So I think that's a good thing. Additional comments from the public?
Tim Schwanger, 362 Sheffield Way. Back on the moratorium for the transient rental overlay, and I know I'm speaking to the choir because y'all know this problem. The bigger problem right now is transient rentals that are not registered, and the continuation of rental housing transient housing that is expanding every day as we speak. In a conversation probably about a month ago with one of the commissioners, we may have hundreds of unregistered transient rentals in the city of Sandusky. And I know we have some kind of new software. I guess the question you should all be asking is, how's that software working? I was able to get some information from the development and the planning department, both that there are, even on their list, there's a number of known transient rentals that are still unregistered. And, you know, what do we have to do to bring those into compliance? Is there talk about grandfathering those folks in, or are we going to, you know, go back and make them pay the last 3 or 4 years of being unregistered? Not quite sure, you know, where we're going with that. It's nice to get the overlay under control, but there's something that's more out of control than the overlay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwanger. Additional comments on any item that pertains to city business? If not, I need to return to new business, as I missed my own note for requiring a motion to appoint a fellow commissioner to serve with myself on a little-known and not very much used Administrative Benefits Review Committee. That is a committee that adjusts the wages and benefits for our non-collective bargaining employees. And we meet once a year. Our charter dictates that I serve on that and that I appoint a fellow commissioner to serve with me on that. And I would ask for a motion to appoint Commissioner Pajali to the Administrative Benefits Review Committee.
So moved. Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Mars, you poll the commission on that motion.
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That motion is passed, and congratulations, Mr. Pajali, on your election.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.